Welcome to Mind Shift Power Podcast, a show for teenagers and the adults who work with them, where we have raw and honest conversations. I'm your host, Fatima Bey, the Mind Shifter. And welcome, everyone. Today we have with us Jasenya McCauley, and she is from Schenectady, New York. She is an entrepreneur. She is a wardrobe utilization specialist, and the name of her business is Styled and Emerged. How are you today, Jasenya?
I'm very well. Thank you, Fatima. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm looking forward to this conversation because I think it's going to be a little different than what people are used to hearing. Now, with me, I like to dive right in. So we're going to talk about the effects of fashion on our mental health. So let's just start off with asking you, what are the effects of fashion on our mental health?
So the effects of fashion on our mental health actually vibrate deeper than we perceive.
Mm-hmm.
It can change how we interact with others. It could change how we interact with our actual goals. And it really can change how we are motivated to show up in the world if we do not feel certain feelings that we expect to from our wardrobe. Then sometimes it actually does affect how we show up in the world.
I totally agree. Now let's take a deeper dive into what you just said. What are some examples of the way fashion affects our mental health?
So some examples include the age-old models not matching the realistic user, right? So we have a situation to where we have a subject that is manipulated to fit a brand or an advertiser's or a marketer's messaging. Then you have the consumers who are actually kind of removed from the awareness of how much advertising and marketers strive for their ideal image. And therefore, we're left in a space to where we're actually running after ideals that humans cannot achieve, right? So we have the Photoshop, we have the lifestyle, we have the social acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
However, again, because these are advertisements and marketing tactics, we don't realize that, again, it's not something that's achievable because it's not a reality that anyone lives in.
Very true. And this is not something that is a recent phenomenon. And this is not, and really, it's nothing new. But I think what's newer about it is the intensity at which it affects us. I think that people don't realize, as you said earlier, it goes deep right into your psyche and describes who we are, tells us who we are and who we're not, and has us comparing ourselves against fantasies. As a person, never, my listeners know I make and design wedding gowns and deal with prom girls a lot. And that's something that I see a lot. And I'm going to keep talking about it on the episodes because to me, it's a big deal. I have all these people that come in and, it's my job to fit them and make them look beautiful in their dress. They're often unsatisfied, not with what I'm doing, but with themselves because they don't fit into an image that just isn't freaking real. I used this example before. For example, I get prom girls who are so upset that their stomach's not perfectly flat. Guess what? You have a uterus. It's not supposed to be. And I mean, that's just a small example. Sure. But, oh my God, my butt's not big enough. My butt's too big. My hips aren't wide enough. My legs are too long. Whatever it is. And I think this is such a big deal to talk about. So let's talk about, we know that fashion can affect our mental health. What is the evidence that a person can take a look at themselves and say, wait a minute, fashion is negatively affecting my self-image?
So I call this the 80-20 rule. Since the company opened in 2018, I've been trying to figure out how can I normalize some of the talking points, right, that I have. So with my clients, I call it the 80-20 rule. You should be looking at your wardrobe, the total of your wardrobe, and evaluating in a 365-day calendar if you're using 80% of said wardrobe, right? So you look at your wardrobe and you see that you have work clothes, you have going out clothes, you have golf clothes, you have gardening clothes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you go ahead and you take an inventory of, do you actually need, this is the utilization part of what I do. Do you need and are going to utilize in a healthy manner 10 pair of jeans, right? And if you only use jeans for gardening, then the other categories that you live your life in do not have any use for them. Therefore, on the 1-2 weekends a month during the nice weather that you choose to garden, is it worth having 10 pair of jeans that are just going to be in the closet taking up space for the rest of the year, right? So that 80-20 rule really helps us not only give us ourselves grace for some of those nostalgic and sentimental pieces that we have in our wardrobe, but also for those seasonal pieces that aren't used all the time, all the while keeping us focused on if this is a sustainable wardrobe, not only for the environment, but for our mental health. The management of wardrobe actually takes a toll on us as well because of mental clutter. You know, that whole feng shui, physical clutter is mental clutter. I
Mm-hmm.
took that as well and put it into my practice because it's true. People will say they have nothing to wear, and people will have negative remarks about their wardrobe because their wardrobe isn't displayed in a way that is easily accessible to them. So they feel as though they do not have the wardrobe, but in actuality, they have an overabundance.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is one of the negative effects is that we are not looking at our wardrobe correctly. And
We're not
that's one of, go ahead.
we're not evaluating them. We're not.
Mm.
It's just something that once, we're grown adults, it's our job to dress ourselves or we'll go to jail, right? So
In
right
some
there,
places.
right? But so we are tasked with this somewhat of a burden for those of us who do not enjoy wardrobe. Some people do not enjoy fashion and wardrobe and dressing in a manner that speaks to how they feel. So in that case, a lot of times we either let someone else who is enthusiastic about it handle it, like a spouse or a child or a family member,
Mm-hmm.
or of course, professionals like myself, but again, or it turns into this ever compiling burden that we don't realize is stuffed full of decades worth of, memories, but not very useful to us.
Yes. I think one of the other negative effects that I have personally seen with friends, but also in working in the bridal industry for as long as I have had, I've seen in different capacities, but I see women that will just not go to a party because they don't have an outfit that they feel is good enough to be accepted. I
Now
think that's one of
that,
the, go ahead.
sorry.
I think
Now
that's one of the
that
negative effects too.
that is definitely a negative effect. And that is something that is based off of what is called enclothed cognition.
Mm-hmm.
That term was coined in 2012, and it is used to describe how the clothing that we wear affects the person wearing them, right? So if someone wanted to go and be the belle of the ball, but they don't find the items to make them feel that way, or we don't find the item that would make others perceive us to be that way, that's a lot of the times when you have those mental breakdowns of like, I just can't even do it off of an inanimate object that doesn't really affect the performance. But again, mentally, it has everything to do with the performance. So the socialite cannot be social without the right tools. And
Right,
for
right.
them, that perfect outfit is the tool to set everything about their personality into a comfortable setting, mentally. Again, mentally, like, I can't go if I don't look like this. Okay, but what if you don't? That's not a thought because mentally the cognition already decided for them that they're not going to be successful.
Now, let me ask you an unusual question that I'm just making up right now for perspective. On a scale of 0 to 100, how important should we consider our wardrobe in our overall life?
So I would go back to my 80-20 rule and go with 80, 80 on that scale of 100.
Okay.
It's
So,
Go ahead.
so we, in terms of the importance, 0 being not important, 100 being important. So 80 is where we should be, not
Absolutely.
100.
Absolutely. Again, we have to give ourselves some grace for those times in which wardrobe is not as meaningful to us as it is the person perceiving us, right? And those are the days where we're not feeling well, where we are putting our goals over our appearance. And that other 80% really is a mixture of keeping yourself just general good hygiene and self-care, and the consideration of how your wardrobe options will help you propel rather towards your goals.
And that's a key thing you just said. It's not just the clothes alone. Your hygiene, your general self-care, and your clothing, they are all wrapped up into the same, into the same bun, I would say, when it comes to self-esteem. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Um, I do see the importance of people. Check for the listeners right now. Check your mindset. Do you not go to events because of your clothing? Because I would say that's negative and unhealthy. If you're going to miss out on something that you could be shining at, um, because you don't have the right outfit, or because you didn't go to the hair salon this week, because hair comes into this too.
Absolutely.
I think it's part of the same, again, all part of the same animal. Oh, well, I didn't get my hair done this week, and so I can't go because my hair doesn't look right. You can slap that thing back with some gel and a bun and still make it look good. There are always ways around it. And if you give it the importance higher than it should be, it's a mistake. But it also tells us, it also displays to you how mentally imbalanced you are when it comes to self-image, because your fashion is a piece of your self-image.
Right. And see, the part about having the hygiene is so key to any great wardrobe, because it takes away any insecurities that we think others perceive. So that part is just like, honestly, maybe 30% of that 100 is just general hygiene, just basic. Maybe some people say my routines aren't basic, but if you talk to professional dentists and dermatologists, they might suggest some of the things I suggest to people and my clients. But with that said, right, brushing, flossing, scrubbing your tongue, that right there can give someone the confidence just to go out and talk to people if they have a social anxiety. So
Mm-hmm.
why wouldn't that, plus a cool outfit that expresses how you feel inside, how could that not be a formula to success, right? Because on the
Yes.
opposite spectrum, we have people saying they can't even function without the correct outfit. So it's like 30% is, to me, super important. And I never overlook checking in at least on how those things are being handled before focusing on a great look.
I completely agree, and I'm so glad you brought that point out, because we think of fashion as, oh, only the clothes matter. But I can tell you, after a nice fresh shower, I'm all lotioned up. It doesn't even matter what I'm wearing. I feel good. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And I don't know, it's not unique to me, and those things matter too. That self-care piece is just as important, because like it really matters. If you're like, even if you did your nails yourself because you couldn't go to the salon because you got bills to pay this week, hey, that's reality for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you did your nails yourself, or had your friend do your nails, or whatever. It still makes you feel better. It still
Right.
makes you feel better. And how we feel about ourselves is how we perform. I don't care if you're talking about at a party, at a job interview, at anything, at a family reunion, whatever it is, how you feel about yourself is how you will behave. It is how you will carry yourself. So that is why we're having this conversation, because if we put too much we put too much. We put too much into our whole look, and we give it the value of 100% when it should have the value of 80% or less. That's unhealthy for us. And we're defining ourselves by something that is very fallible, and it's not good for us. So, and this show is for teens. So, I really wanted to have this conversation in the ear of teens. It applies to all of us, but especially with teens because of the fact that we have social media today, and it
Yes.
rules and reigns in a way that it didn't for my generation or yours. And we had social media, but not like they do today. It didn't rule and reign the way it does today. So when we're looking at all this stuff, as I'm talking to the audience now, as Jasenia said earlier, some of the images that are put before us are not real. They're filtered to hell. They're filtered to death. And they're like, this is me after 25 filters, and it's not really them at all. Or they only show you a piece of them. So I want to ask you, we talked about what the negative effects are of the fashion of fashion. What are some of the what is evidence or what is examples of a healthy mindset when it comes to fashion? When you look at this person and say, okay, they might have a healthy mindset. What does that look like?
Well, the first thing, of course, is the wardrobe maintenance, right? So, how is the wardrobe that is currently owned? How much of a burden is that putting in the person's life? And I'm
Mm.
not saying that just not wanting to do laundry, right? Because I mean, most of us probably don't like doing laundry,
Right.
but it's not that part. It's the part of once the laundry is actually getting done, does that turn into an issue because you're having to put things away and that becomes haphazard? Or do you just wash clothes and not put them away? Do they just stay in the basket until you use it? Right. So those are the times in which I would say, of course, there's life sometimes gets busy. There's other parameters, right? But I'm just saying if your general normal interaction with your wardrobe is stressful, I would say that's an indication of, okay, I'm just putting these away and taking them out to use them. Why is there stress involved? Right? Because advertisers and marketers they're not going to help you with that part. They're going to help you buy the things. And they're also not going to help you buy the things in a manner that really is for you. So it's our job to cut down that stress by evaluating how are these items actually showing up in my actual life. So I would say that that's the first thing. The second thing is if you're actually stressed when you're getting dressed. So the first part was about putting it away, laundering it. The second part is about getting dressed. Do you look forward to getting dressed, or are you finding yourself frustrated because you can't find that one handbag? That kind of can take away from an exciting moment
I'm
while you're
laughing
getting
because I know there was 35,000 people that just looked at the phone or looked at their TV or wherever they're listening to and go, yeah, that was me.
right. And
I
it's
can't
all
find
of
the
us.
right handbag.
At a certain point, it's all of us, and that's even myself, right? So it's just one of those things where if you're finding that that's happening too much, to give you guys like a little note about my closet, right? I'm a shoe girl. When I start to notice that I have too many shoe boxes in places that they don't belong, and I have too many shoes by my door, that's usually about the time that I start to evaluate my wardrobe as a whole for those maintenance types of issues. So some people their thing might be scarves or jackets, right? Just what you utilize the most, see how that's showing up. And if it's showing up organized, and you're not stressed about your wardrobe and that's put away, then you're probably in a good space.
Mm-hmm.
The next and possibly last part is use. Are your clothes being used to actually get the attention you seek, achieve the goals you set out to goal towards? Those things are important as well. So for me, myself, I think that working with the clients that I work with a lot of professionals. So therefore, a lot of times They're looking for looks that'll get them positive attention,
Right.
as well as open up conversations to network. And it's easier sometimes to be inspired by what those people do, which is what the listeners can take from this is you can be inspired by what you do to start those conversations and not have to work so hard to get your foot in the door. So if you're an artist out there and you paint a lot and you walk around with paint on your clothes, consider wearing a white outfit or getting strategic white pieces in your wardrobe so that the paint actually looks stylish and you can open up those conversations that could lead to getting new clients.
There you go. And this is the reason y'all need to hire her, because how she thinks. Now, but and thank you for explaining that in the way you did, because at first I'm like, I asked you what the positive ones are, but you got around to it, but you did have to explain that first, and so that makes sense to me. And I will say that I've been guilty of that in the past, especially when you talked about the purse thing.
Yes.
I was just like, that was me in the past. Now, no, but I'm not going to hem and haw that much over it. But working in the bridal industry for as long as I have, if I have a special occasion to go to, I hem and haw a little bit more than most people because I make and design dresses. So everybody's freaking staring at me. Yes. So it's different for me than the average person in that respect. And I do get that. But even before I worked in the bridal industry, I used to do that. So I really related to that. That piece about, oh my God, I don't have the right shoes. And I know there's people listening out there right now. And I know y'all are listening and you're like, I do. Stop stressing yourself out, please. You don't need to do that. You need to have some balance, because that's the key thing. If I'm going to have one key word out of everything that Jasenya is saying, I would say the key word is balance. That obviously we don't want to run around looking like a bum. None of us do, but we really shouldn't assign our wardrobe as much power as we sometimes do when we're imbalanced and we go a little crazy over it. Now, in the beginning, I asked you, I mentioned that you are a wardrobe utilization specialist. Yay, I said it. So tell us what that means. What is that?
So I have went ahead and fused the psychology of fashion with the use of fashion, which is, fashion styling, right? I started my business as a stylist. And I focused at first just on trying to help my clients get unique and expressive looks. But in doing that work, I would start off with my clients doing a detox. Those conversations led me into being a wardrobe utilization specialist, right?
Oh, okay.
Because I have clients who will be looking at their closet and I'll be asking questions like, okay, how do you feel about this? Well, I don't wear it, but I had it since high school and I got an award in it. So I think it's nice to keep around. Right.
I know you're not lying.
I know but it happens so often. And then for me, because I am optimistic and I am a, glass half full type of person, if you will, I didn't mind pushing into those conversations to say, well, why do you have it? Like, why not take a picture? And, I can't fit it. Oh, so you can't use it? No, I can't use it. I just want to keep it. Well, right. That's where the psychology piece came in for me. I came in to just style them. I came in to just help them have a fabulous wardrobe and feel good and have organization. But I used to walk away oftentimes realizing that this felt just a little bit like I was coaching them right through being okay with their enclosed cognition, being okay with not having the dress, but still feeling accomplished because they still were standing in that dress, accepting their award, or standing in those penny loafers, accepting their award. So for me, it wasn't really a conversation of, oh, well, let's figure out a way for you to keep it. It became a conversation of, how can this be useful to you now?
Good point.
And that's where I started to embark into, learn, impressing upon my time in school. I do have a degree in fashion. So that consumer behavior, that marketing, and all of those things came up And I realized that no one is really advocating for the consumer in these conversations when it comes to the fashion industry. The fashion
Say that
industry has,
again. Say it again.
yeah, there no one is speaking for and to the consumer as in the fashion industry. It's very little, and when people do, it's not from the psychology standpoint. It's usually either let's be sustainable or let's be fashionable or right. I'm like, but you can be both because I've seen it and I've lived it. You can be stylish and get great compliments and feel confident and have great conversations based off your wardrobe items, as well as source them sustainably and without that internal conflict that maybe when something comes out in the news, you partook in that, right? Like Rana
Yeah.
Plaza,
Yeah.
one of the biggest clients for Rana Plaza was J.C. Penney. And for those who don't know, Rana Plaza was a factory out in Bangladesh that actually collapsed because the building wasn't zoned correctly for
Oh, I remember.
manufacturing. It was an
Yeah, I
office
remember that.
building, and they put all these heavy machinery in it, and then the vibrating caused a collapse. So when Americans like us, who advertisers have basically mentally abused into consumerism and compulsive purchasing, it gets to a point to where it's overwhelming. So for someone like myself, like I said, I didn't see it appropriate to see this pattern with my clients and not figure out a way for my business to kind of meet that need, right? It's important for all entrepreneurs to meet a need. That was the
Yes.
need I saw for the fashion industry, was somebody that's openly and honestly able to speak on, dispel some of these tricks that advertisers and marketers use because I know about them, and put them in the hands of the consumer so that we're making very well and informed decisions.
Yes.
Social
So now,
media, as you said, sorry to cut you off, this one piece. That's the part about social media that you said
mhm.
is the advertisers and marketers taking away our information gathering part of our consumer buying process. So we see someone has it online. That's good enough for us. We don't need to know anything else but how to purchase. That's a big issue.
Yeah, you're right. You're definitely right. Fashion goes a little deeper than we tend to think.
Yeah.
So, what other services do you offer?
So I offer workshops, consultations, actual wardrobe utilization services in the commercial and personal sector. And that is about it. The company has been through so many changes, and I'm excited to say that we are strictly focused on wardrobe utilization now.
I think that you would be a good person for talking to high schools. Have you gotten into that at all yet?
Oh, thank you. I recently started conversations with Schenectady High School on joining their assemblies. So I'm
Oh, okay,
excited to
good.
finish that conversation this month and see where that leads us. And also, I will be reaching out to a few other local high schools to see what programs or what opportunities they have for me to get in front of teenagers, because that's the demographic that the advertisers and marketers have very deeply. They're very much impressed by all of the branding and marketing. So it will be
Yep.
great to talk to them and get them a little more empowered and in control of their buying power. They have the most discretionary income of the demographics because they have a lot of times people taking care of them, but they have the money because they're teenagers. So that would be exciting.
Well, I hope that that works out for you, and
Thank you.
I hope other people can hear this and invite you in, because I think that it's a very, very worthy conversation, and again, one of those conversations that people don't think about having, but it's right in our face.
Right.
Um, so, how can people find you?
You guys can find me at www.styledandemerged and at Styled and Emerged on all platforms. On Instagram, there's an underscore between the N and the E in Styled and Emerged.
And can you spell Styled and Emerged for them, because it's spelled
Abs-
differently?
Absolutely. It's STYLD space N space EMRGD.
All right.
Unique like
And
me.
And her links will also be in the show notes. Well, thank you, Jasenya. I'm glad we had this conversation, and I hope that we have planted some seeds in the minds of our listeners today.
I do too. Thank you so much, Fatima, for having me, and thank you everybody for listening. I hope it's something helpful in there for you.
And now for a mind-shifting moment. I want to leave you with this today. I want you to think about how much does your wardrobe and your overall appearance affect your activities and how you see yourself. Just take a deep dive and do some self-examination. And the other thing I want to note is, especially to young women, you do not have to live up to the images you see on TikTok, Instagram, or whatever platform you're looking at. 90% of that is fake. Do you not realize that there's industries out there, there's whole industries whose entire purpose is to make you feel bad and stupid about yourself, because that is the only way they'll get you to buy their products. That is the only way they'll get you to get the surgery you think you need. That is the only way they'll get you to buy the tummy tuckers that you probably don't need. I want you to think about that. I want you to kind of think about yourself as more than just a consumer puppet. Just think about that. Thank you for listening to Mindshift Power Podcast. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Mindshifter. If you have any comments, topic suggestions, or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit fatimabay.com/podcast. Remember, there's power in shifting your thinking. Tune in for next week.